I'm here with a great friend of mine, Eric. Eric, I'm so excited to have you with us. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm here in Hawaii. It's a beautiful day outside, but I'm glad to be inside talking to you.
Aw, thank you so much. Number one, you're living the life that I think so many would just absolutely dream of, or even think that is outside the scope of possibility. Could you share a little bit about your journey and how you came to be in Hawaii?
Sure. So, from an early age, I was a dreamer and I decided to put my dreams first versus what everybody else told me I should do, like my major, what my resume might have said at the age of 22. And so I went on a journey of pursuing my dreams for 2 decades. And I would say at age 40, I got distracted. I got distracted by making money and I started to ascend and make more and more. Before I knew it, I went from a net worth of a few hundred thousand to 50 million in less than 7 years. But during that time, I gave up my health. I began to stress out quite a bit. My body took a huge toll. And the day that I moved into a mega mansion from all that wealth, I collapsed and I had to be rushed to the hospital. When I was in the hospital, I found out that I had been very ill. And they asked me if I knew anything about blood sugar. And I said, no, I don't really know anything about that. And they said, it should be 77 to 99. And yours has been for the last 3 months, 650. If you didn't come in, you would have died of either a heart attack or a massive stroke. I had my second chance. And I remembered my former self, the dreamer. And I remembered what lit me up. And at that moment, I didn't actually have any regrets about my career or my dreams. I slayed them mostly all. But my one regret is that I didn't finish the job. And that was to come back and to light people up to discover and pursue their own dreams, bliss, whatever you would like to call it. And my own personal awakening, though, was that I didn't have enough joy in my life. And luckily, those two were aligned. My greatest gift is to inspire others to pursue their bliss. And that happens to be my greatest desire as well. So I found perfect alignment. And in the last 4 years, I've put joy at the center of the focus of every decision that I've made. And I've gone on a tremendous run. So, yes, the fact that I have the life that others would like to have, it happens to be the life that I desire. But there's some common characteristics that anybody might like to have, like owning a oceanfront 4 acre lot in Hawaii, living in their dream home. Sure. But it's that direct focus and alignment with my purpose and my desires that have created all these opportunities that you're seeing today, right? Which is owning Bliss Island and running world-class retreats for entrepreneurs, building the Bliss Yacht, which will soon be moored in Austin, Texas, and then also recently closing on a beautiful retreat property in Destin, Florida. So I'm doing exactly what I desire. And it just so happens that I didn't forget how to make money. I didn't
Mhm.
forget. So I was able to bring that with me. And even though I now put joy first, I'm still pretty darn good at making money. And so I want people to hear that loud and clear. One of the biggest misnomers in the world is that you have to choose between your dreams or your bliss and making money. And that's just a limiting belief. It's just simply not true. And I've proven that again and again. So I like giving that explanation rather than giving you all my different companies that I've started. There have been many over the years, but that's what I've arrived at today is I put joy first. And I'm on a joy ride right now that I'm really enjoying, and I'm trying to get others to do the same.
I love that. You, for sure, have been an inspiration to me on a very personal level. And I just, my personality, some people are like, could you just be any more ecstatic and vibrant and so on and so forth? But definitely through interacting with you, I found so much more inspiration. Eric, would you say that joy is what makes you feel the most aligned and fulfilled in your life? Or is there something else, another key word, a key phrase that brings you back into alignment?
Sure. I put it in the perspective too of entrepreneurs, right? You hear them eventually say, I just want financial freedom. And then they get that. And then they have a new desire. They're like, oh, if I just had time freedom. And then they add things like without guilt, right? And then they get that and they're like, geez, now that I have all this money and all this time freedom, I just feel like I'm missing something. And that's something, there's really two categories. There's love, which I don't coach or mentor or invest in people's love. I invest in my own love. But then the other thing is joy. And so the definition of bliss is perfect happiness and great joy. So we can look at those two categories of happiness versus joy. And I believe that happiness is an individual pursuit. I could invite you out for drinks, Mikosi, and we could have a good old time. We could get our friend Yannick to come and some of our other mutual friends like we did one time, right? And we all were happy that night. So happiness, most people should have a treasure trove that they can reach into and enact happiness at any time, like playing with puppies. Who isn't happy playing with puppies? That's just cool, right? And fun. But joy is something different. And that is when your heart is in another. It's when you give your greatest gift. I know in your life, that is when you interact with your son, right? And you teach your son something, and then you see your son actually put that into action in real life. And you feel this, I don't know, these goosebumps on your soul that well up, and you're like, wow, he did that thing that I taught him. What a great young man, right? There's nothing better than that. And it's not just with family, right? It can be with your clients, it can be anywhere. But your joy is when you actually put your heart in another and you give your greatest gift. So my job is to cut through all the BS and try to help someone figure out what is your greatest gift? What's the gift you haven't given yet? The one that you're hiding, the one that you really want to give, the one that's been there all along, that you've been slowly developing over the decades since you were a child. And so that's a really fun place to be, Mikosi. Mine's to inspire people. I just absolutely love it. I can spend all day long inspiring, whether it be in person, on the phone, on Zoom, or wherever. I'm up for the fun of that and the joy of it.
So I kind of want to shift and ask you something because there's this little part of me that feels like it's just unbelievable to me that you could come to this knowing and this understanding and also create this incredible life and an ability to inspire as many people as you have without there being like how in the hero's journey, right? He comes up against some challenges. So I want to ask you, what is your perspective on risk taking? And are there certain signals that let you know if you absolutely should or shouldn't do something?
Yeah, I think first of all, it's mindset about the word risk. If you look it up in Webster's dictionary, it literally has pictures of crossed skull and bones saying, do not tread, do not do this. Well, I see risk a little bit differently. Look up the Wikipedia version, which I think is a more robust version, and you'll find that there's duality in the word risk, that it can be something either bad or something good. And so a long time ago, I started to identify risk as something that brought me opportunity. And as my life progressed, I've been able to chart every time that I faced a risk. And instead of fearing that risk, taking that risk on, it has brought me the greatest benefits in my life. So I think culturally, we've been mistaught what the word risk actually is. And so I've programmed my mind to translate risk into opportunity and choice. And that has worked really well for me over the years, particularly in chasing my dreams and chasing my bliss, because ultimately we have to face the big three. The big three were limiting beliefs, and that would be resistance, that little voice in our head telling us not to do what we desire, to stay safe. Number two, that voice of fear. And number three, the voice of doubt. And so we need something to counter that. What would be stronger than stepping into risk? And so ultimately, I think risk is the polar opposite of fear. Why would we want two versions of fear? Why would we want fear and risk to be best friends? We need to separate those two and actually use them to counteract against each other. So if it's too risky, which by the way, guys, I don't do risky, I do risk really well. Risky's like driving blindfolded down Main Street at 8 o'clock on a Friday night when it's busy and expecting not to be pulled over the police or hit anybody. That's risky. I don't do that. But ultimately, to be able to counteract fear, there has to be something that you could run to. And that's what I've been running to my whole life. And I could literally chart a course. The more risk I take, the bigger the risk I take, the bigger the reward. It's very clear. There's a pattern there.
Yes, without any risk, there really isn't any reward, right? Because then otherwise you would just be doing the same thing again and again. Your life would never be more expansive.
You would be
So,
staying safe. You would be doing everything to stay safe. And
mm,
staying safe is the opposite of taking a risk. It's literally the opposite. And
mm,
so I think that's the part that we all need to take a look at and just say, hey, how valuable is it to stay safe? How valuable is it? In certain areas of our lives, certainly it's very valuable, like driving a car on a freeway. It's best to play it safe. But right, when it comes to our careers or our dreams or our bliss, perhaps it's best not to always play it safe. And we all have to make that personal choice.
I love that. So, what do you feel like when someone's following their dreams? Because there's been some keywords that have popped out, but I also want to give you an opportunity to share some more insight if you have it. But what do you think is the most important characteristic that someone can have or develop when they are following their dreams?
Stick to itiveness, grit. So ultimately, I believe that people do not achieve their dreams. Heck, they don't even get far on their dreams for 5 reasons. The first one is obvious, is they don't begin because they want to stay safe. Number two is people are world class at quitting. And more importantly, quitting too early, too early. Number three is that people make poor decisions. So that's when you're a little further along in your decision, but, or sorry, your journey, but you actually make poor decisions and that bumps you back to the beginning again on a false start. Number four is caring what people think, right? And then number five is comfort. And the interesting thing about comfort is it works in both directions. Here are these phrases. Oh, I'm just too comfortable. I can't risk this. That's too risky, right? Or, wow, I'm so uncomfortable with taking that risk. Isn't it interesting how there's duality in that with both sides? And I think that it's really key to understand that these are the things that stop us from actually proceeding forward. And they have great supporters. Resistance, doubt, and fear are very strong. They're like superheroes in our head, right? So we need to develop countermeasures to actually deal with those three things.
So, you make a really good point. Number one is that we have some really great supporters for quote unquote staying safe, staying small, staying the same in our head. But how do you deal with the supporters that are external? Because I've definitely seen that when people love you, they want you to stay safe. And so sometimes those will be the people who will plant seeds of doubt. How do
Ah,
you approach relationships where that potential is there?
two containers, bullies and champions. We all know what a bully is. We all experienced that potentially, or were one on the playground as children. When you're an adult, you may or may not get bullied, but often it can come from people that actually love you because, like you just said, they think you're going to fail or they're projecting their own fears onto whatever it is you want to do. So they're going to try to talk you out of it. So they're actually stepping into the role of resistance as if we don't have enough of that in our own heads. They're now adding on, they're piling on. So that does make it very difficult. And they'll point to something in the past and go, well, Makosi, remember that time when you were 29 and you tried that business and it, so they're going to bring up the past, which doesn't exist here in the present. And ultimately, we have to guard against that and we have to recognize bullies for who they are. Now, I don't suggest that you think of your mom as a bully and yell at her for it. I suggest giving that person a hug, a big long hug, stepping back with your arms still on their shoulders and say, thank you for loving me, but I'm going to be just fine. Because in the end, that's all they really want. They want you to be safe. Some bullies literally want to take your pocket money, right? They don't want you to be successful. So those people just if you can get them out of your life, you're going to be better off. But champions are fewer and far in between. They're the ones that cheer for you when you're successful, really cheer, not the ones that comment on Facebook and when you do something awesome and then whisper to their husband that, man, I'm so sick of her. She has such a perfect life. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people that are going to actually brainstorm with you on any idea you have, no matter how crazy it sounds. Those people are hard to find. But when you get them, you should hold on to them for dear life. That's why I named my company Bliss Champions. It's not because I'm saying my partner and I are Bliss Champions. I'm saying in order to become a champion, you need to surround yourself by a great team that you can trust, that believes in your dreams. And that's why we started our company, so that all of us could be Bliss Champions together.
That's so amazing. Eric, we're starting to wind down our time together, but I want to give you an opportunity just to share, if people listening could only take away one thing from this conversation, what would you wish that to be? And what would you wish for them to do with it?
Yeah, my one wish would be, don't wait for a tragedy in your life to do what you really is find a way to step into that secret ambition, that unfulfilled ambition that's been there all along, that's really tied to your purpose and been there for decades. Life is short. We don't know how long we have. Mine almost got taken from me 4 years ago, and I wasn't done with my canvas. I had more painting to do. So that would be my biggest recommendation, is quit waiting for that raise, quit waiting for that perfect significant other, quit waiting for that next big hit of money, and just start to step into what it is you truly desire and see what happens. The universe has a way of really rewarding those that believe, right? You step in and you really believe in yourself, you believe in your journey and your dream, whatever you feel comfortable calling it, your purpose, and watch what happens. I have a lifetime of the universe just serving up the most delicious support. I'm like, wow, I don't even say I can't believe it anymore, because it's just so normal that I just receive it as a gift every time that it happens and keep on moving gratefully.
Yes, I too have seen it just again and again show up in a way that's beyond what you could even imagine or think or goal set for. And that's when we get to play in the realm of real life magic.
Yeah, I think just a key point on that, I don't write business plans anymore. I have 23 businesses. I think I've started 4 more this year. So maybe I have 27 now. I don't even keep track. But what I know is I don't write business plans. What I do is I find something I really desire, whether that be an asset or whether that be something I want to do, and I start a company. And then I go, all right, time to figure it out. If I want to play in this space, I got to figure this all out. And I don't have all this fear going into it. Of course, I got a lot of experience, but in the end, I know that if I really care about this new company, I'll put my heart and soul into it, the most that I can give to that company. And then I start to have fun with it. And I start to seek that joy that it's going to bring me. The good news is I don't start companies anymore that don't bring me joy. So from that standpoint, I'm pretty safe to start a company at any minute, because it will bring more joy to my life.
Absolutely. I love that. It sounds like for you, when you're creating a company, it isn't about the what you can get being something like how much money can I make from this, so on and so forth. Of course, money's a part of the equation, but it's like the side effect. It sounds like for you, starting a company, starting a business is all about, I'm going to get joy from this. And it can be
Yeah.
that simple.
Well, I'd remind somebody, if they struggle with money, is to check in with themselves and how they view money. Do they have limiting beliefs around money? And is it true that they can't make money at their bliss or their dream job or whatever? Or is it actually true that they don't know how to make money? And so there's a million ways to go out there and learn how to be better at making money. That happens to be a very strong skill set of mine. So it's not something that I overly have to worry about coming in. I'm more focused on a craft, right, or an acquisition, than I am thinking, boy, am I going to be able to make money from this later on? And so I would say check in with that, because that's a dream killer for sure. And resistance, doubt, and fear, they have all kinds of, because you deal with money almost on a daily basis, right? So it can easily serve you up some rationale that you'll swallow down, thinking that it's smart to be safe, right? I'm not going to buy that Bitcoin, 10 years ago when it was $30. No, $30 is just too much, right? As it cruises past $60,000. So we all have different thresholds for these types of things. But if you start noticing them, you should really focus on working and asking yourself, why do I feel this way about this or that?
I love that so much. So, Eric, do you feel like now I'm being stingy because I want to get one more question,
I've
but
got all day for you, Mikosi, so no
awesome.
problem.
Do you feel like, specifically around the topic of money, that more people struggle with having the know how to make money, or do you think it's more of the beliefs around
Uh,
money?
beliefs. I can't tell you how many times I've seen it. And that even translates into dreams, right? So the personal development industry, which is a multi-billion dollar industry, it really does two things, right? It helps people get unstuck. And under that category is all forms of healing. And then it helps people perform, right? So those are the two things that it does. There's people like you and I are like, there's a third doorway, right? And I know my third doorway, I literally call it the magic doorway where joy resides. And I try to get people to forget about those two things for just a minute, to go on a little voyage in another direction. But ultimately, I do think belief is the issue I see the most often. I see a fair amount of people not doing the work. So that would be a close second. You and I don't have either of those problems. We're both strong believers of ourselves and we work our tails off when we want to, when we don't want to be doing something else. So ultimately, that is the number one problem is, and again, it's how much do you let the past control your beliefs in the moment today? And how hard are you willing to work to overcome what resistance is serving you up? Here's a key thing. When resistance tells you you're not good enough and you won't be loved, how about instead of just believing that, going, oh, yeah, what are the reasons? Let resistance serve you up all the things you need to work on. And then you could say to resistance, hey, thank you. Now I know what I need to work on to not have that result. Thank you
Mhm.
for that gift, resistance, right? Most of
Yeah.
us are just fighting resistance and come on, get the nerve to fight back. But resistance is better at fighting than you because resistance knows every one of your thoughts, right? So ultimately, I'm like, hey, thanks for that gift. That's the area that I'm going to be weak in this next company. I'm going to turn that into a strength.
Yes. Yes. I love it so much. Thank you, Eric. One more time, that was absolutely amazing. And I appreciate you. I know that so many people watching this are going to get incredible value from this and would be absolutely insane to not take it and begin implementing it in their life right now because you clearly are an embodiment and a living example of what is possible when you approach risk as opportunity, when you follow your bliss,
Yes.
and when you address the beliefs that are stopping you. I love it so much.
Well,
Thank you
thank you,
again.
Mikosi. Thank you so much for having me. And anybody that knows Mikosi, I'll tell you what I know about her. She is the real deal. So if you have an opportunity to work with Mikosi, I would strongly recommend it. She is just a gem and a rising star in the personal development world.
Oh, thank you so much for that little cosign. I appreciate it so much.